Hello and welcome. I am RogersBase, and today we are doing my live reaction to One Piece manga chapter 1130. Now, the beautiful thing is that I have been in Honolulu for the past week, so I have not seen anything about this chapter whatsoever. I haven't even seen hints about this chapter. I haven't even really been on Twitter at all, other than posting photos of food and cool things that I've been doing. But I am supremely excited to read this one. I feel like I know we are going on a month-long break. I feel like there has to be something good. I feel like he's going to deliver us, some big revelation before we end up going on that month-long break. Usually Oda does. I think there's only like one or two occasions I could think of in which he left us off with kind of like a middling chapter before a long extended break. I don't think that's going to be the case with this one, especially because we're starting a new arc. We're in Elbaf, baby. Let's go. All right. So without any further ados, let's get started. I'm looking at this one, chapter 1130, The Accursed Prince, and it says, Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 17, The Sword Got Stolen During Nap Time, which obviously was the whole reason that Yamato was going on the pilgrimage in the first place. You're seeing the other shinobi lying on the ground, Tama and Shinobu and Yamato, and then you get the mysterious hand going and grabbing the sword. My assumption is that that's probably somebody that we've seen before, somebody that's within Wano country, but we're not in Wano. We're in Elbaf, all right? I don't care about any of this anymore. This is what I care about. I turn the page and I'm seeing this. All right. Listen up, warriors of Elbaf. We're kicking things off with Frankie on the ship. This search is finally over. And you got the other giants cheering there. To make a long story short, we searched and we didn't find nothing. But we know that they're alive. They're alive and they're well. So thanks for trying so hard to find them for us. It really does warm my heart. Yes, yes. Let's wait for them at Elbaf. We're all heading to the same place. And you could also see Jinbei saying, indeed, my shark network didn't turn up anything either. I should have worn my Jaws shirt. I have a Jaws shirt that I got at Universal in Japan. I should have worn that for this chapter, but it is what it is. I was out all day yesterday, so all right, it's fine. My shark network didn't turn up anything either. We're just grateful that you went to such great lengths to search. Plus, we're out of food now, so there's no point to any of this if you all starve in the process. Of course, he's saying you all because Brook is already dead. Doesn't matter what happens to him. All right, so Dory and Bragi are like, I see. Well, if their own crew says so, then they're fine. That seals it. Steer us back to Elbaf, boys. Let's toast to our safe return. We're out of food and drink, though, Captain. Come on. All right, and then meanwhile, you see the nice big outside shot of what I'm assuming is Elbaf. You can see it snowing. Luffy's going, this is huge. I mean, look at this tree. How many years old is it? Meanwhile, you see the little crack in the wall where obviously Iscat just slammed into it. Are they all like this? So big. Is that a mountain? Ooh, it's freezing. How long before? Look at how long this rope bridge is. And again, you get a cool shot there of the castle on top of the mountain with the bridge going all the way up. Wait a minute. It's so vast. I feel like I'm getting dizzy just looking at it. But look, there are giants coming down the bridge. And you can see the crackling of the bridge moving. Okay. Gerda. Okay. Oh, this makes sense, too, considering he saw Road during the last chapter. We found out that the false sun god dude was actually Road. So makes a lot of sense that we would see the other new giant pirates. I like seeing Gerd. I liked her when we first got revealed to her design, or her design first got revealed to us. Excuse me. You got to remember, I just woke up. I like when her design was first revealed to us back during that cover page story. So it's cool to see her here. The doctor of the new giant pirate ship, Gerd, and then the new giant pirate ship, Cook, Goldberg. So she said, why did Haruden have to bring that weirdo onto the crew? I also like that she's got a giant owl pet. Very cute. Well, that's because he's a good navigator. All right. Why does he sound like that, Mr. Goldberg? Well, I hate this guy. Loki's not the shame of Elbaf. It's him. Okay. Loki name drop. Very good. Yeah. That's only going to make Road happier. But you saw it, didn't you, Piper? His crow was carrying a little boat in its mouth. So Piper is the name of her little owl. And hoo, like the old RogersBase intro, responding back. Intruders have to be caught, of course. But Road, creatish intruders, all out of show. This dude, this the way they're writing him is... All right, Goldberg. I like you already. I like his little weird vocal tick. This is good. All right, hide, Luffy. They seem nice, but no. Stop. I'm going to find them and tell Chief Jarul all about this. So Chief Jarul is still alive, even after all this time. Did you hear that, people? They said the name Elbaf. We've actually got to be there. I didn't know that there were giants so beautiful. And meanwhile, Sanji doesn't care about any of this. He just likes Jerd's design. All right. Yo, guys, wait, we're... And she immediately shuts up Luffy. You idiot. They said intruders get caught, remember? And meanwhile, you get Goldberg and Piper and Gerd turning on over. Did I imagine that? I think so. Road, are you in there? So Rodo. Okay, so Road must have been a different translation then. Everyone was saying it was Road, but Rodo is actually his name. I wonder if that is like a weird Viz thing, kind of like Zolo, Zoro, or if that's just the actual translation if you say it Road. But okay. Hold on, wait a minute. There we go. Okay. Road, are you in there? It shakes a lot and it's so long. We gotta hurry. If those giants come back, there's nowhere to hide. Oh, great shot there of Luffy on the bridge. You can see the giant ropes, and he's not even really struggling, obviously, because the rope is just so big. Okay. A giant-sized bridge means that every step is a pit to avoid. Oh, obviously jumping between the planks. But don't worry, Nami. I used to balance on ropes all the time. I'm good at this. It's a trial fit for a brave warrior. And meanwhile, Usopp's just cheering on, getting so excited about all this. The forest below is packed with giant wolves. Well, what's up, Luffy? Can you feel that? Something is tingling. Ooh, okay, strong hockey. Let's go. Okay, give me something good. If Zoro and Luffy can sense it, I'm not going. And neither are you. You're not setting foot in any forest in the entire world. It's whoever I heard roaring back in the Block Kingdom. You guys keep going across the bridge. What? But what are you doing, Luffy? Be brave, Usopp. Meanwhile, Usopp's trying to hype himself up in the background. Where are you going? It's all wolves' dens down there. And you can see the bridge shaking once again, going like this, okay? What does it say? We attacked Egghead? So we're jumping right away from that. We're not even getting to see any of this yet. Well, let me open this up again. Man, Viz is really screwed up. Every time I click back on Viz, it's going forward 2 pages. I'm like, why is it doing that? Okay. What does it say? We attacked Egghead? That was in the morning paper, at least. But why would they lie about us? Clearly, the Giants are just finding out about fake news wargans. This is too tiny to see, though. Could you read the bounty poster for me? I mean, because of the size of normal bounty posters. And they're trying to read it like this. Robin said, I'm going to read it for you. The giant pirate crew has returned after a century of slumber. With Emperor Straw Hat Luffy, they set the seas around Egghead aflame. The captains of the giant pirate crew, Bragi the Red Ogre, and Dory the Blue Ogre, each now have a bounty worth 1.8 billion berries each. And both the giants are like, wait, we got bounties? This is new territory right here. Okay, 1.8 billion berries. That is a lot. Both of them are like, I didn't think we were back in action. You were each at 100 million back in the day, right? I mean, that is a massive jump, quite possibly the biggest jump we have seen. From 100 million to 1.8 billion like this. Though it makes sense after the Egghead incident that this would obviously happen, but still. Also, Robin brings up a good point too. Of course, inflation means the currency value has changed a lot in 100 years. That actually does seem appropriate for an Elbaf warrior chieftain now to have 1.8 billion. So, okay, inflation has also affected the One Piece world as well. Meanwhile, our captain is the culprit who murdered Vegapunk, and they're cutting the photos together where it looks like you got Vegapunk's image and then Luffy in the background there with the, I love seeing the X2 on him. That's great. And they're going, what? Another masterclass in lies and distortion. And Lilith is just laughing, going, wait, so he killed me, did he? Come on, you know he was the one protecting you. Well, when was this picture taken, after all? I'm sure it was taken at some point in Egghead. The World Economic Journal has people everywhere, and they'll pay good money for photographs. But the thing is here. I'll wait. I got questions, but I'll wait. When Luffy turns into his free form, does this mark appear on his arm? Does it? He's usually moving around so much that I've never gotten a good look. It seems unnatural to me, and you can see once again, Luffy there. His hand is blurred, but the mark is still crystal clear. Strange detail to focus on. Well, it just seems familiar to me. It's amazing to think that Straw Hat's considered equals with red hair now. Wait. This is interesting stuff. When Luffy turns into his free form, does this mark appear on his arm? Does it? He's usually moving around so much that I've never gotten a look. It seems unnatural to me. I wonder, did Vivi Photoshop that in there? Because Vivi's obviously with Morgan's. Did she want to send a message? Is she on the way? Is Vivi on the way to Elbaf? Is that what this is doing? Amazing to think that the Straw Hats are considered equal with... That is also there's a lot of information that's being thrown at me on this one little page spread. Moving out of this. 0.8 billion berry bounty for the Giants. This photoshopped image of Luffy going on with Egghead. Robin realizing and bringing up the thing with the mark, because I think she's right. I don't think we've actually seen the mark on his arm in that form before. So I do think Vivi put that in there because we know she's with Morgan's. And amazing to think that Straw Hat's considered equals with red hair now. That right there too is crazy. That's crazy. Amazing to think that Straw Hat's considered equals with red hair. Those are the Giants saying that. The Giants literally just saw Shanks. Okay. We had this youngster named Haruden on the crew, and I hear he's become a follower of yours now. Okay, so obviously we got the new giant pirates that are part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet now. He's the son of a king too, you know. A real tempestuous brat. He was he? Okay. They wanted to come get you too, but in the end it was only us old-timers. Because of a bit of trouble back in Elbaf. Trouble? It happened while the captains were away. You see, in Elbaf, the king had another official child, known as the Accursed Prince. So their brother? Haruden is Loki's brother? He's the son of the king too. There's a lot of information here. He committed all manner of evil acts and was sentenced to crucifixion a few years back, but nearly escaped his punishment. And it took all of our warriors to get him under control. So they are hyping up Loki then. It took all of the giant warriors of Elbaf together? What would his name happen to be? This has got to be Loki. 100% has to be Loki. They said the Accursed Prince. He's got a few screws loose, huh? His desperate desire for a legendary devil fruit passed down through the Elbaf royal line led him to kill his father, King Harold, and eat the fruit himself. The next time that Loki the Accursed Prince is unleashed, the world will be brought to ruin. For he is the shame of Elbaf. Bro, they are hyping this up. They are hyping this man up. Loki? This has got to be. This is 110% got to be Loki. He's saying Loki, the Accursed Prince, is unleashed the world. So then what in the world? Bro. Yo. This design is incredible. Incredible. Name yourself. I'm Luffy, the man who will become king of the pirates. King? Where am I? And who are you? And you get an amazing double-page spread of Loki chained up with... I love his design, dude. This looks nothing like what I was expecting. I was expecting Loki to look like a doofus based on his silhouette that we saw back in Whole Cake Island. Though I assume he was younger at the time, and obviously he might have been a goofball before. And if this is anything like the regular Loki, he can shapeshift. But he already ate a devil fruit. They said he already ate the devil fruit and killed his dad. There's a lot of stuff getting thrown at us. Also, he's got like... His design is really interesting because he's got like Katakuri's belt thing. And he's got like the boots that remind me of Katakuri a little bit. But he's got a little bit of like Doflamingo or Kaido flair as well. Because you got like the Doflamingo. Obviously that's Loki's hair, I'm assuming. But it looks like the feather boa. And then he's got the Kaido tattoos. They are hyping this man up to okay. That's also I have a lot of things I have to say about this one. This is extraordinarily hype that they are doing this. Name yourself. I am Luffy, the man who will become king of the pirates. King, where am I and who are you? Bro. And then you get an amazing, amazing double page spread of Elbaf right there. And you could see the tree above with the little bridge. So they're on the bottom floor of the massive world tree. And so I have a lot of questions then, because the tree we saw in the background of Big Mom's flashback, when we saw her sailing here, has that tree grown since that time? Or was she on like an outskirt island of Elbaf? Because we clearly saw the tree, but it was like perspective obviously changed certain things. This is amazing looking. Amazing, amazing shot. This is Warland. Elbaf's kingdom of warriors. Elbaf is the most powerful nation in the world that once lived and breathed warfare. And you could see the mountains that we were just exploring dwarfing the rest of Elbaf. You get the giant tree, you get the bridge, you get the massive sword there. You obviously have the other kingdom standing up on the top. You got the cannons aimed on either side. And I am the sun god who will bring the world to an end. Loki, and you get him. Oh, dude, that shot of him with the tongue out too. Loki, to be continued. One Piece manga chapter 1130. End. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. The design of Elbaf is incredible too. I think I had assumed that we would have a world tree type deal based on what we saw in Big Mom's flashback, but I didn't think the island itself would look so small compared to the tree and its branches. But I guess now that I'm thinking about it, depending on where you like angle the camera with some of those shots in Big Mom's flashback, because like Elbaf is so big and the tree is so big that I would have assumed when we were seeing the sky that we wouldn't see the branches, or we would at least see something from the rest of the tree. But this is clearly like we were on the bottom ground floor in some little village during her flashback, because those are the other mountains. The snowy mountains that you're seeing on the bottom, on the other side of that, those are like the little spiky mountains that we saw during hers. And then the tree that was in the background was literally just the trunk of this. So all of this other stuff, like the second layer of branches, the giant tops of the tree with all the foliage up there, the sword, everything. This is all new. Also, like the giant waterfalls that are coming off the top as well. There's a lot of good stuff here, bro. A lot of good stuff. Also, because I'm zooming in real quick. Excuse me 1 second. I'm just seeing this for the first time and I'm geeking out a little bit. So if I'm missing a couple details or I'm seeing other things or you guys want to comment on other stuff, go right ahead. But I have a lot of questions and I have a lot of ideas here as well too. Dude, I love the design of like the little kingdom that's on the top. I need Viz to stop crashing right now, bro. Please, Viz. Please. Let me see this stuff. Okay, so you have like the kingdom on the top left. You've got what looks like, I don't know if that's just smoke or fog or whatever, but then you very clearly see a rainbow coming from the other side, which I'm assuming is the Bifrost, right? If this is based on Norse mythology and we're getting stuff like Loki and we're getting stuff like that, I'm assuming the rainbow's got to be the Rainbow Bridge. That's got to be the Bifrost that you're seeing on the right-hand side of the tree. That leads into this other area where there's like this giant vine that looks like something out of Skypiea. Also, speaking of which, because Elbaf is so big and so massive, and it's clearly extending into the clouds, I'm thinking that all that stuff that I was cooking up a while ago with Skypiea and the connections to Elbaf and the sun god, because literally where the giants seem to be living is quite literally in the sky, right? Because you could see the clouds around it. I really do think all the stuff I was saying with Eneru potentially coming back, and Aruj and the other Sky Islands, this might be it. There's obviously connections. The cultures are going to be melding. This is... And then obviously the sword is there for Ragnarok. No doubt about that. The sword is there to bring upon the ruin, especially if they're saying that Loki and all this stuff is going to bring it upon. Also, what is his devil fruit? Because in my brain, this is my first initial thought, just from reading the chapter for the first time. My initial thought, him hyping up this devil fruit, saying, let me go back to, hold on. There's a lot of information here. I'm going to go to page 10 and 11. Loki's desperate desire for a legendary devil fruit passed down through the Elbaf royal line led him to kill his father, King Harold, and eat the fruit. I'm gonna put this out here right now. I think Loki's devil fruit is the sun fruit. I think he has the sun fruit. And let me explain. Especially because of information we got in this chapter, Harudin, when we first met Harudin in Dressrosa, was after the Mera no Mi. That was the very first thing that we saw him after, was a variant of a fire fruit. If his brother has a variation of a fire fruit, he might think that would be a way to take on his brother. Additionally, we're getting a lot of stuff with sun god, right? With the idea of like a sun god. Nika, right, Luffy's fruit, is the fruit of the sun god himself, not the fruit of the sun. But if there was an actual literal sun fruit that burns with the fire of the sun, that would be higher on the echelon of the fire tiers of the fruits, right? You got like the fire fruit, the Mera no Mi. You've got Akainus, that's got the lava. And then above that would be the sun. That's the only thing that burns brighter is the sun. I feel like that's what it is. And I think Loki is saying, I'm the sun god who's going to bring an end to the world. And thought, and maybe even like the way that Elbaf worshipped the sun god, they may have believed that like the sun god was actually the owner of like the sun fruit, like literally the sun fruit. And so if that was the case, the royal family of Elbaf, being like the strongest warriors in the world and like the most hype up kingdom, could pass down this fruit and then they would remain like at the peak of power. But that's not what the prophecy is talking about. That's not what Joy Boy was talking about. They're not talking about the power of the sun. They're talking about the sun god. They're talking about Nika. And I feel like what would be a legendary, super powerful fruit would be a sun fruit. I'm curious. Hold on. I'm going to put my glasses back on for a sec. We're kind of like melding theories into the review portion for that, so I apologize, but there's just a lot of stuff to go over. Hold on. I'm typing in sun god Norse mythology. Sun god Norse mythology. There was the goddess of spring and rejuvenation, Idun, okay? Keeper of magic and... bro. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me just read this for you. This is straight out of Encyclopedia Britannica in the grouping about Loki, Norse mythology, and the sun. Let me read this for you. Idun, I hope I'm saying that name right, or Idun, also known as Iduna or Idun. Idun in Norse mythology is the goddess of spring or rejuvenation and the wife of Bragi, who is the god... Bragi, too, interesting. Wife of Bragi, the god of poetry. She was the keeper of magic and apples of immortality, which the gods must eat to preserve their youth. Okay. Immortality surgery. Let's let Encyclopedia Britannica cook a second. It says here, when through the cunning of Loki, the trickster god, she and her apples, devil fruits, were seized by the giant Thiassi and taken to the realm of the giants, the gods quickly began to grow old. They then forced Loki to rescue Idun, which he did by taking the form of a falcon, changing Idun into a nut, and flying off with her in his claws. Now, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. First off, Idun being the keeper of magic apples of immortality, and that lining up with devil fruits, there's just a little too many connections right there with some of this. And then that through the cunning of Loki, she and her apples were seized by the giants and taken to the realm of giants, and the gods quickly began to grow old. In my brain, Idun is like Emu, right? The keeper of the evil devil fruits, right? Emu is like head of the world government, all this other stuff. Through the cunning of the trickster god, the apples were seized and taken to the realm of the giants, Elbaf. And the gods grew old, the Gorosei. Bro, the Gorosei, who are like semi-immortal and eternally look old. This feels to me like we're getting hints at future stuff in One Piece just from reading this one little article in Encyclopedia Britannica. They then forced Loki to rescue Idun, which he did by taking the form of a falcon, changing Idun into a nut, and some sources say a sparrow, and flying off with her in her claws. I almost feel like this is potentially hints to Final War. Right? They forced Loki to rescue Idun, which he did by taking the form of a falcon. I'm almost wondering if we're going to see like, because Luffy's obviously going to free Loki. No doubt about it. I'm seeing Forever Nami donating, saying Luffy's going to free Loki. 110 billion% he's going to free him. Most definitely. And this is going to cause chaos. That's why they sent Luffy by himself. Because if everybody else was there, they would have said absolutely not Luffy. But Luffy's like, I want adventure. I'm the sun god. I can take you on. Boom. He doesn't even know that about himself yet, though. So like all of this stuff in Elbaf, we need to get Luffy's journey of discovery into who he actually is within Elbaf, tied to what the people of Elbaf believe and like what this fruit is that Loki got that was passed down. I mean, maybe it's like a legendary falcon fruit. It could maybe be that too. I could see it being something like that. And then if somehow, some way in like Final War, the Gorosei forced Loki to go save Emu, I'd be kind of sick. Because Luffy freeing Loki and causing all of this to happen, going into Final War, would be Ragnarok, right? That would be what we've talked about before. That Final War in One Piece equates to Ragnarok in Norse myth. Those two are the same. They're the same. I've been saying this. Go back to my stream I did in March after C2E2, where I laid out the story of One Piece. This is lining up. I'm good at my job, bro. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at all this. I'm like, man, I cooked. Like, now that we're actually seeing it, I'm like, I cooked. Wow. So then, oh man. I love Loki's design. I really do. I love his design. I love the design of the kingdom. But I'm also, and I feel like people are going to be focused on that, but I'm also super interested in this bit about the X on Luffy. I want to reread. This also seems like it's a short chapter now that I'm looking back on it, but I feel like it didn't feel like a short chapter. I feel like there was a ton of stuff that was given here. We also saw Gerd and Goldberg. We saw the other road pirates. We saw a giant owl. Hold on. I want to go back a little bit. I want to go back to this little bit with Luffy and the X. I'm going to reread this segment because I feel like there might have been something I missed. It's too tiny to see. I'm going to read it for you. So this is Robin reading the giant pirate bounties again. Also, I'll mention this just while I'm here. Dude, I keep knocking over my camera. Apologies for that, everybody. But like, it's on a little bit of like a wobbly table inside the hotel room. So you got to excuse me. Robin's little mention about like inflation and how back in the day their bounty was 100 million, but nowadays it would be like 1.8. I think was a really, really slick way for Oda to retcon power levels and strength of old characters. That when we're seeing characters from back in the day make a resurgence and we knew their original bounties and they're brought back in, that they get like rectified new bounties based on current inflation. It's very interesting and a really smart way to go about that. And I also think it's a really great way to showcase once again to the reader, because again, when we were first introduced to Dorian Bragi, right, these giants were hyped up as like these unbeatable individuals, and then we were like, okay, and I think we kind of forgot about them for years and years and years and years and years. And then they came back in Egghead, and obviously we were looking forward to Elbaf, but they came back in Egghead in a big way, like fighting against Gorosei alongside the Straw Hats and all these other major characters, and we're like, hold on a minute, Dorian Bragi are cooking. They're actually like top tier, top tier. Also, Rob is saying, someone said earlier that 100K back in the day would actually be 1.8 these days, so Otis being accurate. I am pretty sure $100,000 in like 1910 would not equate to a 1.8 billion today. That's a little much. That's a little much. Maybe a million, but not a billion. maybe if you had 100,000 way back in the day, like way back, then maybe. If you had 100,000 back in the time of Julius Caesar, maybe it would be 1.8 billion today. That's true. All right, let us continue though. So you got the Giants all hyped. Oh, you actually said million? I didn't say billion. No, I was reading Rob's earlier. Rob said 1.8 billion. All right, so hold on. Inflation means currency, yeah. But then this bit. So you get the image. Meanwhile, our captain, the culprit, murdered Vegapunk. Another masterclass in lies and distortion. You get Lilith laughing about this, knowing that that's not the truth. At some point, the World Economic Journal has people everywhere. They're going to pay good money for photographs. Okay. Who on Egghead sold the photo to Morgans? When Luffy turns into his free form, does the mark appear on his arm? Does it? He's usually moving around so much that I never got a good look. It seems unnatural to me. His hand is blurred, but the mark is crystal clear. It's a strange detail to focus on, and it seems familiar to me. Right. Oh my God, bro. Of course. Of course. I just realized it's all coming together. I just had like a brain blast moment from Jimmy Neutron. Remember at the very beginning of the story arc, I mentioned I thought it was weird that he separated the Alabasta crew. Brooke, Frankie, Robin, and Jinbei would not know about the X. They wouldn't know about it. They weren't there. Robin is like, it seems familiar because she was around, but they don't know that this is a message from Vivi. And again, we know Vivi is with Morgans. So this is absolutely 110 billion% Vivi sending a message. And conveniently, everybody who knows about it is not there. And they even have Robin say it seems familiar because she was around, but obviously was not on the crew when they made the vow that they were always Straw Hats. And 100%, 10%, I agree with Abi in the chat saying as soon as the OG6 see the X, they're going to recognize it. The question is, when are they going to see it? Is that going to be like their key going into Final War to bring them back to Vivi? That Vivi needs help, that Vivi is with Morgans, that she's like her location, that she's with the World Economic Journal? To me, this also further solidifies, guarantees to me, Vivi Final Straw Hat. Like, Vivi will be with them Final War. Vivi's going to end it all. She's there. For them to highlight this in Elbaf, in the beginning of Elbaf, have the other crew separate from this, have all the story that we got with her, and her importance to the kingdom and the stuff with Emu, this is it, bro. This is it. She is joining. She is going to reunite with them sooner rather than later. If the X is there and everybody who knows the X isn't around. It's all coming together. I really think, too, as I'm reading through this again, that the fruit is something like a sun fruit. I don't think it's something as simple as like a mythical fruit. Unless there is a separate, like I said, a separate sun god in Norse mythology that the giants believe to be the sun god that is not Nika. Excuse me. I think that could also potentially be this. Because again, Edun is the thing that came up that we were talking about with like Emu and the robbing of the immortal devil fruits and all. It lines up very, very well. I'm going to type this in. I just want to look this up. Oh, see now, here we go. 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 Wait a minute. Oh. Wait, oh, wait. Wait. This is it. Soul. Hold on a minute. Soul is the sun personified in Germanic mythology. Hold on a minute. The moon's companion and the wolf Fenrir. Wait. And the chariot of the sun, which also could go in line with the Idun myth that we were just talking about. If Loki is forced to go save Emu during Final War and fly across the sky, if he's got a chariot of fire, Soul's chariot of fire, interesting. Also, Hollow Avarice said, as a fun fact, Soul is also sometimes translated as Saul. So like Jaguar, and he's a D. Jaguar D. Saul has the will of D. There are connections here. Hold on. So maybe that was from Saul's family? The goddess Soul. There's a lot of good stuff here. Hold on. Soul is the sister of Mani, the personified moon, who drives the sun's chariot across the sky. During Ragnarok, Soul is prophesied to be killed by a monstrous wolf, but before death will give birth to a daughter who will continue her work in the heavens. What are the powers of Soul the god? Pyrokinesis. As the personification of the sun itself, it is possible that she's able to control or use the sun's fire and heat. Going back to what I brought up with Harudin. Another aspect of her power is that it's likely that she's able to control, manipulate, or utilize sunlight. Soul stands out as a beacon of light quite literally. As the sun deity, her radiance touches both the gods and the mortals. Soul symbolizes light, warmth, and growth, which would also make sense if that's who the giants believe to be the sun god, and they have like a soul fruit that's been passed down, but Soul is not the prophesied sun god, it is actually Nika. This is interesting. Read an article on Soul and Mani. I'm looking at it right now. That's literally what I was looking at. Soul and Mani, the sun and the moon, siblings that drive the celestial bodies across the sky. This is literally the thing I'm just reading, with Mani being the moon one. The beings who drove the sun and moon in their courses throughout the sky, Soul and Mani were brother and sister, and were both fair and beautiful. See, that could also be interesting, because if Soul and Mani, within Norse mythology, created the sun and the moon, and again, this goes back to the thing I brought up earlier about the moon god, way back in the day, and that old theory video about the differences in what the giants believe, the idea that Soul and Mani, just as Nika once existed in the world of One Piece, that Soul and Mani could have both existed in the world of One Piece. I feel like there's something here with the bringing of the new dawn and the will of D and Jaguar D Saul and Saul being Soul. The other thing I'm thinking this could be, if it's not something obvious like Loki has a soul fruit or a sun fruit or something, it could be what I was saying before we even met Loki, which goes in line with this myth. Potentially, Loki has like the moon god fruit. What if Loki has Mani's devil fruit, right? The devil fruit of the equivalent of the moon god. And Luffy has the equivalent of the sun god. And they bring about, upon freeing Loki, the bringing of the new dawn and Luffy. There is a lot of potential here. And then this also being the thing, it drove the sun and the moon in their courses throughout the sky, could then again tie back to the Skypians. could tie back to their worship, and Aruj and Eneru. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. There is good stuff here. Soul is usually female and Mani is usually male. And sometimes form a brother and sister pair. So there's obviously different information here. Some of this. See, Wikipedia says Mani is the brother of the personified sun god. So then again, that goes back to the thing with Harudin. When we first met him in Dressrosa with the Marimara no Mi and the fire, and wanted to take his place in Elbaf, and then also the reveal this chapter that Harudin and Loki are brothers? I don't think we knew that. Did we know that? I don't think we knew that. There's just a lot of cool stuff that Oda can pull from here. In terms of the sun and the moon and stuff that he set in place. And the giant world tree at the ending with Elbaf. Dude, man. I hate to say it. I kind of want this to be a long arc now. I kind of feel like this is deserving of like a big long arc. I was thinking that Elbaf would be like not necessarily shorter, but I did think that Elbaf was going to be not as long as people were expecting it to be. And now that we're getting all this set up right in the very beginning, and it's like huge potential world building implication stuff, I feel like it's got to be long. I feel like it's got to be long. I feel like it's got to be minimum a year and a half at this point. If we're starting this late summer of this year, minimum we're going to December next year. Minimum. Because again, realistically, this goes back to what I was saying in that video laying out the rest of the arcs of the series, being Elbaf, Final War, and Laugh Tale. There's clearly a lot of setup that is being done here in Elbaf, but the way that I'm reading this setup is different from how I read setup in something like a Wano Country or something like an Alabasta or one of the other big arcs, right? I feel like the setup that's being put in place here is not just set up for Elbaf. It is set up to the entire rest of the series with like the sun and the moon and the giants and the stuff with the sky. And then even like tying in the stuff with Vivi in the World Economic Journal. And like even the pacing that we're moving at is very quick. That we're already out of that one portion of Elbaf and the stuff in Rhodes Palace with the Legos. And that we're now in Elbaf proper. We're seeing Gerd again. We're seeing Goldberg. Obviously, when they see the Straw Hats, they're going to be excited. Like they don't know Gerd and Goldberg yet, right? The Straw Hats don't know. That's why they're trying to hide from them. That's why they're like, look, we don't want any smoke. Intruders will be taken care of. They don't realize that as members of the new giant pirates, Gerd and Goldberg are their subordinates. They're the direct subordinates. So literally, if they showed up and they weren't sneaking around and they just said, yo, to these giants, we would have probably skipped a whole bunch of the story because now Gerd and Goldberg would be like, sure, come on up to Elbaf. Like, we're buddies. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I agree. Austin Smith said, as a writer, the setup for this arc told me that this was going to be a short arc like Zoe, right? That's what I was thinking. But now I feel like the look of Elbaf and the end, like actually seeing the world tree and seeing the way the kingdom is laid out, I am eager to actually explore this. Like, I want to spend time here. This is an environment that I'm interested in seeing more of. Man. What a good chapter, man. Wow. Wow. And I can't get over his design. His design is so cool. He does look like a mix of like every villain we've seen up to this point in the series. And then also them hyping up that it took every single giant to chain this dude up and try to have him executed. And they still failed. Is crazy. Because then, does the rest of the world know about Loki? Or is he just like the secret of Elbaf? And that he's the shame of Elbaf is what they're all saying. The rest of the world doesn't know about him? Maybe they could speculate about him, but if that's the case, like the way I'm seeing Loki, and if he's got the power of the sun or some type of mythical fruit, and he's strong enough where every giant together was barely able to stop him, that's like a Kaido level threat, bro. On land, on sea, and in the air, always been on Loki. I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing right now. I feel like in size, in scale, in lore hype, because I feel like I've talked about this before. I feel like Oda kind of fumbled the bag a little bit with Kaido. I feel like he did. With the way that he hyped up Kaido as much as he did, for us to never really get like a full flashback for him, I think was kind of mid. So if this is his Kaido redemption, like introducing this super scary, amazing character, and then actually having him do something amazing, I'd be all about that. And also, I think for the purposes of the story, getting a full flashback for Loki and finding out information and like seeing all this stuff that they're hyping up with the giants, trying to crucify him and then killing his father, we're definitely going to get a flashback. With the stuff that Haru did and Haruden leaving and his desire to go after the Marimara no Mi, like there's a lot of good stuff here, man. I want to get into theories. I want to talk with the chat a little bit. And clearly there were a lot of super chats, and I'm sorry I did not get to them yet. I will get to each and every one of them. I got it open in another drive. Don't you worry about a thing. I got all the super chats there. We will read through all these super chats because there are a lot of them. I will get to them. But before we do, I want to see what James did for the thumbnail. Hold on. Let me pull this up real quick. I want to see what James did for the thumbnail. This chapter was crazy, man. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. What a good chapter. All right, let me pull this up. Like, this has me legitimately super excited for Elbaf, dude. I cannot wait. And then all this stuff with Vivi. All right. What did you do for... Oh, dude. I kind of love this color scheme, James. Let me show you guys. So James, for Loki, look at this. Ended up going with purple for the hair. Isn't that cool? And you've got like the snow going in the background too. The nice breeze and the Loki chained up. That is a really amazing thumbnail. James, I feel like you could sell that as a sticker, if I'm being honest. You can print out a bunch of those and get these ready for whatever your next event is, and you could sell that as a sticker. That is seriously cool, man. I love your design for Loki with the purple hair. I'm not usually a huge fan of the purple color schemes with One Piece stuff. Like, I know they revealed that Saturn's actually purple in the new volume cover that was just posted on Twitter, but I actually really like it here. Man, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Good work, dude. Well done, James. Well done. Really, really nice. Yeah, I love what you did too here with like the shading with the snow and the different little lighting effects too. Beautiful. Also, I didn't notice until I literally looked at your arc compared to the actual Loki. He does have some type of weird thing on his nose. What is that? Did he break his nose or something? Is that like something to hold his nose in place? Or is that like a helmet? He's obviously got that, unless that's maybe part of the other helmet. And that his bandages just go over where his helmet connects. That is interesting. Dude, I love what you did with this, though. Well done, James. Well done. You're saying, yeah, I do think it's just part of his broken helmet. It's just part of the armor. The nose piece of the helmet. There you go, there you go, there you go. Dude, man. Well done. Well done. Also, Saba in the chat just says, Loki looks like a really cool mix of Kaido and Doflamingo that just exudes aura. And the Ace CEO said, maybe it's to protect his congestion. He's got like a little, one of those little like, the things that help you breathe if you have sleep apnea or whatever. Dude, well done, James. Really, really good. All right, I want to read some of these donations, and I want to read some of these theories, because I'm sure you guys have some cool stuff to point out. John Raban donated, and said, what a chapter. I hope you're enjoying your time in Hawaii. I've been having a lovely time. Thank you very much, John. Tyler said, we finally got to Elbaf. Roger, what are your general expectations for the arc? Thank you, by the way, for the $20 donation, Tyler. I mean, if I'm being honest, this chapter further solidified all my expectations that I already laid out. My number one thing that I would recommend to you, if you haven't already seen it, Tyler, is to go watch my video from March. I did a giant video called Charting Oda's Course to the End of One Piece that I also presented as like a panel at C2E2. And pretty much everything that I said there, I still kind of stand by. And that this chapter is kind of just cementing my thought process for all of that, which is that I kind of believe that Elbaf is going to be themed around like religious beliefs and the sun, and obviously with the stuff we already getting it right with like the false sun god and the sun god, potentially like a moon god, who certain giants believe in, who the other giants believe in, different mythical devil fruits, bringing in the stuff from Skypiea, Uruj, Eneru. I think a lot of the predictions that I had in that video are kind of still lining up. I will say I didn't predict like a Lego opening to this arc with Road. I didn't think any of that kind of stuff was going to happen. But I did also say in that video that I expected that Vivi would be coming back by either the end of Elbaf or, thank you, by the way, to Clax for linking it in the chat. Greatly appreciate it for people who haven't already seen that video. Yeah, definitely go check that video out. But I also said in that video that I'm assuming that Vivi would come back at some point. We're clearly getting a little bit of that right here with Vivi sending the message with the X on the arm via the story in the World Economic Journal. And obviously she knows that Luffy didn't kill Vegapunk. She knows Morgans might be running the story, but she knows the truth. Yeah, I feel like I kind of, for where we are in the story, like I haven't been told anything that really deviates too much from what I already said. And I think even a lot of the stuff that we went over today, like the Soul and Mani connections, the Idun connections, that still kind of tracks. Because I basically said that I believe Elbaf is going to be our lead-in to Final War. That Elbaf is going to end with Ragnarok, and that will be our lead-in to Final War. And I still totally stand by that. Even more so now after reading this chapter. But I will say, as I'm reading this last page again, as Loki's giving the explanation about Elbaf, this is Warland, Elbaf's kingdom of warriors, the most powerful nation in the world, that once lived and breathed warfare, and I am the sun god who brings the world to an end. Loki, and knowing that Loki killed his father to get this legendary fruit, I do feel that maybe I was incorrect about the moon god thing, and that it is actually a sun god thing. But again, I'm still kind of 50-50 on that, because the Soul and Mani descriptor of that bit of mythology does kind of line up with the stuff that I was saying, where I thought like Loki would be a moon god or a follower of a moon god. And that maybe he's proclaiming to be a false sun god in being the moon god, and is also trying to take the place of maybe like his sibling. But then Haruden is also his. I don't know, there's a lot of weird connections. But I think for the most part, the high level, very basic overview of Elbaf that I believed, I think still kind of tracks. The idea of like seeing which giants believe in either the moon or the sun, and the connection with the stuff with Eneru, and Eneru being on the moon and then coming down and having that confrontation, and having connections with Skypians and the Skypians and the Elbafians and the people from Burka all believing in the same sun god. And then now also further confirmed in this chapter, where you see the actual kingdom of Elbaf, right? Loki is tied up on the tree on the bottom of Elbaf in the snowy mountains with the wolves and everything, where Road lives. But really, the kingdom of Elbaf proper, you can clearly see on the second floor of the World Tree. You can clearly see it. So again, I feel like with the giants being in the sky, which also ties to like Jack and the Beanstalk mythology, and like the giant Jack and Skypiea, there's just like a lot of stuff that's connecting Skypiea and the belief in the sun god and the giants and Elbaf together. So I do very much still stand by what I said in that video back in March. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question, Tyler. I know I kind of went off on a tangent, but highly recommend you check out that video that I did. Yeah. Let's see. By the way, Aaron said, when you get a chance, make sure to check out DMs on Discord. I got you. What's this? Just linking. Aaron linked me Loki's wanted poster from the MCU, where it says race frost giants, of course, from Jotunheim, Loki, Odin's son. I would love to see Maybe no, I'm not gonna go there. I was gonna say I would love to see the TVA in One Piece, right? Where you get like the Time Variance Authority, and whoever ends up having the time fruit. Now that Toki's dead, somebody else got the time fruit. Maybe it's a giant. That's funny though. Also, wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. Aaron said, look at the variant ID, L1130. And today's chapter is 1130. And Nani? Oh, wait. Hold on. Loki, the main variant, L1130. Is there like a connection to 1130 in mythology, or is that just like a random thing that Marvel came up with, and now Oda is making a reference to Marvel Loki, which would be crazy that he's actually implementing that with the actual mythology. I mean, that's clear as day, though. I mean, that's not, Aaron, you are 100% correct. You can't even argue that. Loki's variant number is 1130. And in One Piece, the chapter that reveals Loki is 1130. Check out this Wikipedia article. Okay, I got you, Rob. Let me pull this up. 1130 Schooled. This was an asteroid from the inner regions of the asteroid belt, named after Skuld from Norse mythology. Skuld makes up a trio of Norm that are described as deciding the fates of people and appear in at least 2 poems of the Valkyrie. She saw the Valkyries come far and wide, ready to ride. Skuld held a shield, which we've already seen the sun shield technique. And Skogul was another, with Gunnar, Hildur, Gondul, and Geir Skogul. I think I'm saying that incorrectly. There's so much good stuff here. Even just some of the designs here are crazy. That really is wild, though. The 1130 connection. I never would have seen that in a million years. Obviously, like, I am familiar with Marvel. We were literally just watching Agatha All Along last night. But I would not have known that as his variant number, and that being a thing tied to Loki's mythology. I would have never thought that in a million years. But it's clear as day Oda did this on purpose with Loki. Yeah, I mean, that's not even a... He's known to do this with numbers and stuff before. That is clear as day, right there. That is why he had his reveal be this chapter. It's probably referencing the connection. It might have been referencing Marvel, and then Marvel referencing the actual story, and then now he's referencing both. Could be. Also, in the speech, the sun god Ra describes his good deeds, creating the 4 winds, and making every man his fellow. So, like, obviously Nika and the sun god, and bringing the people together and freeing everybody. Interesting, man. A lot of cool stuff. Well, thank you for letting me know that, Aaron. That is really good. Also, yeah, Degenerate saying the same thing in his member message, saying Oda's slick for revealing Loki in chapter 1130 after Marvel's Loki was variant 1130. Man. And Rob said the same thing. Dude, everybody came through with donations with the exact same message at the same time. What a way to go on a 2-week break from Rob Harley. Amazing designs. Never trust a silhouette from Oda. But also, fun fact, yeah, MCU's Loki is variant 1130. Interesting. Hollow Avarice donated and said, Roger, what is up from NYCC? Oh, you're there this week. Hope you're having a great time at New York Comic Con. Obviously, I wasn't there because I'm in Hawaii for a wedding. I'll be back in LA very, very soon, but hope you guys are having fun at New York Comic Con. Saying this was an absolute fire chapter. By the way, fun fact, in Myth, Loki was actually chained up by the gods, and his family, excuse me. Oh, hold on. There was a weird punctuation thing here. He said, in Myth, Loki was chained up by the gods and his family, and only escaped when Ragnarok began, which makes me think, who the heck was strong enough to bind this Loki? Well, I think they talked about earlier that it took all the giants coming together to actually bind him. But what I do think is interesting is that Luffy freeing him is going to be... hold on then. Wait a minute. Now that I'm thinking about it, wait a minute. I know I said earlier that I wanted Elbaf to be a longer arc, but if Luffy is by himself currently and sets loose Loki, and that sets in place Ragnarok, which is also the equivalent of the final war within One Piece, that Elbaf and Ragnarok and Final War could technically all kind of be one and the same. That this could literally be a transition arc into the Final War, and that Elbaf could just be the location of the war itself for the front with the Straw Hats before leading into the stuff with the world government. That this could basically be the first half of a two-part Final War arc, with one half being Elbaf and the other half being world government and Marijoa. Especially if there's a connection there with the Idun myth about Idun and the immortal apples from the tree and the gods growing old, the Gorosei growing old, after the apples were stolen, meaning the devil fruit was stolen, and Elbaf is warland, and that would be potentially a good location for a final war. Essentially, I could see a world in which Luffy and Loki and Elbaf kick off the final war that would also tie directly into the Vivi content that's been laid out as well. That is true. That is very, very true. That does tie directly into the Vivi stuff, because we know Vivi is with Morgans at the World Economic Journal. Austin said that would also totally make sense because nobody expected the Gorosei to show up in Egghead. And exactly at this point, the Gorosei aren't going to be resting on their laurels. I don't think the Gorosei want smoke with Elbaf. But I do definitely feel like him freeing Loki will set in motion the Ragnarok of Elbaf, which will also be Final War in the overall story. I still think Eneru and Aruj come into play in some way. But man, this arc is getting me excited, dude. This is like, what a good hype way to start the arc. Especially coming off Egghead, too. I feel like Egghead was such a strong story arc to go right from there into this. Really, really, really good stuff. Hold on. I got a bunch more donations I got to read. Give me a second, everybody. Hold on. You guys sent a lot of messages, and I can't see all of them. Hold on. Oh, now this is funny. Hold on. I just got a message. This is from D.W. Ojas, who says Tekking actually had a really funny idea in his video about this chapter. He mentioned that the legendary fruit could potentially be the Gum Gum fruit, since it was in Elbaf and it never made the encyclopedia, and Loki thinks it's the Nika fruit because of its powers, so that Loki would... That would actually be super funny if Loki had the actual Gum Gum fruit, the actual rubber fruit, now that we know that Luffy's is actually the Nika fruit. That would be cool. I would totally be about that. I think that would be really funny. And that would trick him into thinking, because he knows Nika's powers would be that of rubber, and that would trick him into thinking that it was actually the fruit, but in reality it wasn't. That's clever. I like that. I like that a lot. Cordy also donated, and I really like what Cordy is saying here. Cordy is saying, I feel like Loki is actually going to be lying throughout this arc, and that Luffy is going to fall for his lies. But Usopp, being a master liar, will see through it and will tell Luffy the truth. I like it. That would be a great way to have Usopp play a primary role within Elbaf without it being focused on like power. I do like that a lot. It's kind of like a play on the Perona thing, right? You know, when Perona tries to make Usopp negative and he's like, that's my trick, Perona. I'm already negative. I already have depression and anxiety. You can't give me depression and anxiety when I already have it. It's kind of the same situation. You can't lie to me when I'm already the peak liar. I'm the number one liar in the story. I do kind of want to see that interaction happen, but also I feel like Usopp has no chance against Loki. But I could also see a world in which somehow, some way, Usopp manages to restrain Loki, not defeat him, but like restrain him, and that leads the Giants to believe that Usopp's like the super strong warrior because he was able to do what it took all the other Giants together to do, which is kind of cool. I like that. Cool idea, Cordy. I'm a fan of that. Axel donated and said, Big Mom did say that if she joined hands with Loki, she would take out the rest of the Yonko and find the One Piece back in Whole Cake Island, and now I believe it. I completely believe it. I see completely why she wanted to marry Lola off to Loki. But also, looking at this version of Loki, I understand completely why Lola just ran off. She's like, I don't want any of this. I don't want anything to do with this character whatsoever. Man, oh man. Also, Clax just donated and said, did you know about Odin's eyes in Norse mythology? With the birds? Of course. I've played God of War and God of War Ragnarok. In fact, I even just played right before I got here. I played through Astrobot, and there's the level in Astrobot that's based on God of War Ragnarok, and you have to take out Odin's crows to stop him from seeing you. And that's like the bonus trophy in that game. Yeah, I love it. But yeah, I do completely know about Odin's eyes and him watching everything. But that may totally be related to Loki and One Piece's eyes being bandaged. The interesting thing, though, is that we already saw a dude that has crow powers with Karasu. Obviously, it's soot powers. It's not necessarily actual crows. But that would be kind of cool if maybe he does have like the devil fruit passed down through the kingdom, in which his father had like the crow fruit or something that was able to see all. Because technically, again, they're soot crows that Karasu makes. It's not like literal physical crows. And we've had other bird fruits. And also, wasn't there a thing in the story about there only being like a set number of bird fruits? I could have sworn there was something back in Alabasta with Pell where there's only like a certain number of devil fruits that can fly. Or a certain number of birds. Am I making that up, or is that like a real thing? I feel like that's actually a thing. And obviously, Oda could have changed his mind after that, but how many birds realistically have we seen in the story? Big news with the albatross fruit, Pell, the phoenix fruit, if you count the phoenix fruit with Marco, that would be 3. He did indeed say a limited number of flying fruits, maybe only like 5 or something. Okay, so yeah, maybe. I mean, it could be, well, no, because what is the official designation of Pells? Let me see. Yeah, Pell already has the falcon fruit, which was brought up in the story that we just talked about regarding Loki turning into a falcon. So it wouldn't be a falcon fruit. The crow thing is a good idea, actually. Whoever brought that up in the chat, the crow thing is a really, really good idea. Because you could play on the Odin mythology while also at the same time play on the mythology of him flying to go help Idun in the original story. I bet there's like a subsection on the wiki or something about the Tori Tori no Mi. Let's see. Tori Tori no Mi. Oh, here we go. Oh. Wow. Okay, so we might actually be onto something. Hold on. There are only 5 devil fruits that bear the name of Tori Tori no Mi, 2 of which were consumed by non-canon characters. The Eagle and the Nue, which were from One Piece art exhibits. Okay. Interesting. The only 3 Tori Tori no Mi's in the entire series are Pell, Marco, and Morgans. Gabe D. Champ said Pell said there were only 5, but there were many after that. No. I mean, there's not. There's 3. 2 if you consider the non-canons. There's 3. Pell, Marco, and Morgans. Officially. Maybe Lafitte's, and then maybe Loki's. Maybe those are the 5. Falcon, Phoenix, Albatross. Maybe it's going to be Crow. And then whatever Lafitte's is. Maybe Lafitte's is like Angel or something. I don't know. Oh, but that's true, Gabe. The albatross fruit doesn't fly. Well, hold on. Just because we've never seen him fly doesn't necessarily mean that albatross can fly. Albatross can totally, literally, albatross fly without flapping their wings. It's like a whole big thing. Hold on, wait. I'm going to look this up. Big News Morgans has never been shown to literally be flying. But albatross can fly. The bird... Hold on, let me look this up. I'm feeling being gaslit about thinking that there's a bird that has power. Wait, hold on. No, yeah. Albatross. Okay, I was correct. Albatross can fly without flapping their wings and gain lots of momentum and fly across long distances without using much energy at all by locking up their wings, and they can rest and sleep in the air. So there you go. You can also short hop a little bit. Also, if you take into consideration fruits that fly that aren't birds, you can also include Monet's being the snow fruit, with her being a harpy, and Caesar's with the gas fruit, and Shiki with the float fruit. Oh, he said that he couldn't fly in whole cake? He did? I don't remember that. That's bad that I don't remember that little nugget about Morgan's. Oh yeah, that's right. When the chateau, because he's flapping his wings. That's right. That's right. I just assumed it was because he's chubby, because he's got that big belly, and he was like too heavy to fly, and he's been in his hybrid form for too long that he kind of forgot. This is interesting stuff, man. All right, hold on. We're hinging too much on the flying fruit thing, though. I want to move on because there's other stuff. Matsu donated and said, look at what Haruden said in chapter 714. All right, let me pull this up. 714. I'm assuming this is the Dressrosa chapter I was talking about and referring to earlier, right? 714. 714. Where is it? 714. Here we go. This is when we see him in the Colosseum, right? This is Jola. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Even among the who's who of the powerful gladiators, one stands tall above them literally. A warrior from the new generation of Elbaf giants from Elbaf. Right. Have you ever seen a giant with Logia powers? Well, you will once I've seized the flame fruit. The most powerful pirate mercenary alive, Haru did. Then I will be king of the giants. His every punch is like a ferocious bolt of lightning. Is there anyone who can stand before him? Right, so that's when he was first introduced. Have you ever seen a giant with Logia powers? Well, you will when I've seized the flame fruit. Is that potentially a hint to us? Because he would be aware of Loki's power, and he would be aware of what the fruit was that Loki stole from his family if he is Loki's brother. So is that maybe our clue that Loki's power is not a Logia? I mean, but that kind of goes in line with what we were talking about with the soul thing, right? Where if it's like either the fruit of a mythical sun god or a mythical moon god from within their culture, that it could still technically utilize the power of the sun or of the moon without needing to be a Logia itself. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. It could be a zone. We'll have to look more into it. I don't want to speculate too much on specifics just because I feel like that's stuff that could be revealed to us sooner rather than later. I know we are going like on a big 2-month break. We're not coming back until November 10th, but it is interesting. J-Man is saying, I feel like it's a retcon that Haruden is a prince now. I don't necessarily think it's a retcon because we know that he was a giant warrior. He could have very well have been hiding the fact that he's royalty. I don't necessarily think us not knowing that in Dressrosa is a retcon. I'll give that to Oda. I'm one to call out retcons, but I don't necessarily think that's a retcon just because we didn't find out information about that at the time. That doesn't bother me very much, like certain other things would. Also, Sawyer believes that maybe it could be the Fenrir devil fruit. I mean, that would be cool because the whole thing with Fenrir is like it's a giant wolf. I think a giant wolf that can control the sun and the moon would be a pretty scary thing to pass down through the generations as an Elbaf family fruit. Also, Rob said, speaking of retcons, I actually found the crow, and it's easily retconned since the official said there's only 5 known flying fruits, meaning there could be tons more. There's only 5 that are named. So there's only 5 Tori Tori no Mi model fruits. So again, yeah, there could be other fruits that fly, but the retcon in the official says it's only 5 known flying fruits, referring to the Tori Tori no Mi, referring to the bird fruits being the phoenix, the albatross, and the falcon. So there's 2 other ones that are known, but there could obviously be others. So there you go. Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that. Finally clarified everything. All right. Also, AK in the chat donated and said the same thing that Logan brought up in regards to what Sawyer was talking about, saying that what if Loki's fruit is Fenrir? Because Fenrir also represents chaos. And an Old Norse poem says that during Ragnarok, he will eat the sun. Interesting. I mean, I love the idea of, like, especially a guy looking this vicious. I love the idea that he would have, like, a giant mythical wolf fruit, and then at some point he, like, bites down and eats Luffy, and that's, like, fulfilling the prophecy, right, of him eating the sun. But in reality, the drums of liberation go off, and boom, Luffy pops out of his chest. I'd be kind of hyped, man. There's a lot of cool stuff here, man. I'm getting excited about this arc. I love the Fenrir idea. That's cool. We're bringing up a lot of good possibilities here. All right, let me see some other ones real quick. I'm going to hit this. I got to close some of these tabs because my laptop is working overtime. It's like, look, I'm not at home right now. I'm running off a hotel Wi-Fi. Please be kind to me. Hold on. I feel like I'm missing a couple. I just want to pull these up. YouTube. Here we go. Studio. Okay. Go back to live. Here we are. Damn, what a good chapter. What a good chapter. All right, here we are. Viewer activity. Here we go. Great chapter and great thumbnail from James, said Hendricks. Very good. Harudin. Hawkins donated and said, I feel like this arc is what Wano should have been. Well, it's a little too early. We're only 5 chapters in. I'm hype about it, but let's not state already, because a lot of things could happen. In 5 more chapters, a lot of things could happen. But I do say I am very excited about the way this is all being set up. But I also, if you go back and watch my old Wano reactions, I was very excited at the beginning of Wano as well. It was then we got Act 2, and that's when things started to get messy. But Act 1, I was hyped too. Seeing the giant animals and seeing like the sumo wrestler dude and seeing the different samurai and seeing like the look of Wano country. I was hyped at the beginning of Wano. And of course the end of Wano was hyped too. It was just the middle portion I wasn't a big fan of. A lot of people in the chat, though, are donating, saying they really already feel like it's going to be a top 3 arc. Look, get hype, but also I have been burned too many times by big story arcs, so I'm not going to declare already top 3 arc just within a couple chapters. But there are some pretty cool things here. Zoro Top 1 donated and said, I'd recommend you look up One Piece Color Walk 8. That might be a glimpse to Loki. Is that the one with the giant wolf? Color Walk 8? Yeah, that's Wolf. Interesting that the wolf on the cover is purple too. The giant wolf on the cover is purple. And James, being the good artist he is, assumed that Loki's hair is going to be purple. That would have been crazy if he was showing us a transformed Loki way back in the day in the color walk. I don't think that's the case. It might just be a little tease. But that's pretty cool. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, because I did not know that. Deku Gamer donated and said, I wonder if it's a fruit that allows him to morph into whatever he wants, which is why his eyes have been covered. It's anything that he sees. Maybe it's sight-based. That's actually a really good assumption, yeah, because why else would they bandage up his eyes? I could definitely see it being something that's tied to his sight, yeah. But why wouldn't they just blind him if that was the case? Instead of just wrapping. Or, I mean, they might have blinded him. Maybe they did blind him. And maybe he has to see through the power of his fruit. I don't know. Could it also be possible that Nika isn't the original sun god? Maybe he stole the position for the sake of freeing an oppressed group, since he's known as the god of freedom, making Loki's an actual sun-powered fruit? I mean, I could also see that being the case. That Nika is the sun god because he represents the coming of a new dawn, but isn't necessarily... I mean, he doesn't have sun powers. We don't see Luffy using sun powers and, like, manipulating the power of the sun and utilize... Well, but we do see him utilize fire. See, that's the other thing, is I could see Gear 5 retconning stuff like Ace's fire and, like, Red Hawk as being the power of the sun. I could see him changing a couple things for the purposes of the story moving forward.
As I said it, I thought about it and was like, actually, no, I could see the way that Oda would retcon that. So maybe. But imagine the first time Loki sees Gear 5. Well, at that point, he's going to know right away. Oh my, and I think that actually could even be our tell. That could be the way that Luffy finds out. Is he could go, oh my God, why do you look like that? Or they have a fight or something and he starts calling him the sun god. And then he comes to the realization during the fight. Cool stuff. Saba also donated again and said, in addition to, hold on, there's multiple donations here. Hold on. Let me read this. Excuse me 1 second. Read the article on Soul and Mani. That was from Jeskinator. We talked about that earlier. Saba said Luffy frees Loki and brings on Ragnarok. That would be a 10 out of 10. But also, okay, so Saba donated twice, saying, was the premonition the shark lady had in Fishman Island about Luffy destroying the world because she was seeing his identity as a sun god, or was she glimpsing the sun god that brings Ragnarok inside of Luffy? I always assumed that the Straw Hat speculation about the one that brings about the destruction of Fishman Island has something to do with Final War and not necessarily Elbaf, considering the fact a good chunk of Final War, I think, is going to take place in Marijoa, which is directly above Fishman Island. So if the rubble falls from Marijoa, it would fall on top of Fishman Island, thus destroying it, right? But in reality, the fishermen will be freed, having gotten onto Noah and going to the surface, and that's probably something that Jinbei is going to play a role in once we get to that point in the story. But yeah, I am glad you brought that up, though. Hawkins donated and said, I know a lot of people speculated Kid utilizing the sword in Onigashima, but what if Kid ends up using the giant sword on Elbaf instead? I think that would be super duper hype. I mean, that would be a great way for Kid to actually showcase himself doing something after being completely washed in the beginning of Elbaf with Shanks. Also, that's also crazy. There's just so much to talk about. We're an hour and a half almost into this reaction. There's just a lot of good stuff here. That one-liner about the Giants saying that Luffy is on the level of Shanks is going to set the fandom in a tizzy. I think the power scalers are going to have content for days. This 2 week, month-long break or whatever for the manga, and this 6-month break for the anime, it's not going to matter. They're not going to care. They're going to have content. That line from the Giants, because the Giants have witnessed firsthand Shanks' power, for them to say you are on the level of Red Hair, that's going to get people talking. Even if it was something where they just meant like, oh yeah, he really is Yonko level at this point, them saying that he's equal footing with Shanks is a crazy thing to say. I can't believe we're at the point in the story in which that's actually a thing. Man, oh man, oh man. All right, my computer is like really, really struggling now. So I'm gonna reset one more time. And then if not, we've been going for a long time. So I think, and thankfully the stream isn't lagging out because I'm on data on my phone. I'm not on data on the computer, but the live streaming aspect of YouTube running off this hotel Wi-Fi is not having a good time. Hold on. I'm just going to double check and make sure I didn't miss any other major thing. I think I got through all the major donations. I think I got through, I'm skimming Soul and Mani, Haruden, Chapter 714, the Usopp thing. Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up here then. We're gonna wrap it up here because I could keep going. But I also feel like a lot of the stuff that I'm thinking about is stuff that's going to be clarified in future chapters. And it's also stuff that I feel like I could potentially make a video on during this 2-week break. I will say this. It won't be this week. I have a solid date now. If you guys want a solid date for my Egghead review, I have a solid date. My Egghead review is going to go up on November 3rd. I know I've been saying I'm going to do a full video review of Egghead, and I was waiting for the right opportunity to do it. That is when my Egghead review is going up. I already wrote a lot of the script for it, which is rare for me. I don't normally write scripts for One Piece videos, but I wrote a script for this because there was a lot of different things I wanted to talk about in regards to Egghead and how I felt about the arc as a whole that I didn't want to skim over. I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty lengthy video. That video is going to come out on the 3rd. So it's going to come out 1 week before we end up coming back in the manga. The manga is going to come back on the 10th. So there's not going to be a chapter on the 27th. There's not going to be a chapter on the 3rd. On the 27th, I'm definitely going to have a stream on the 27th. I don't know if it's going to be One Piece related, but I will have a stream on the morning of the 27th. There's a couple other ideas that I'm like throwing around in my head. I'm not going to just like say them because I feel like too often I get in trouble saying a bunch of ideas and then I go with one and I don't go with the other ones, then people get upset at me. So I'm not going to say what these ideas are, but I do have plans, a lot of plans for upcoming live streams in the next couple weeks. I'm actually thinking this whole break happened at a really good time because for me, I've been traveling. You guys know this. This is like the last of my big stops potentially for a while, and I've been traveling a lot. And I haven't really had time to like sit down and make good videos other than the videos that were like sponsored ones or things like that. And there are other videos that I want to make that have been cooking in the background. And there's also streams that I want to do, like watch through streams and fun of the things that I've wanted to do for a while that I just haven't had the chance to do. And so a lot of that stuff is going to be happening within the next couple weeks. So make sure if you're not already, if you've been watching the stream, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any of my content coming up. I'm going to put this out here because I know a lot of my One Piece audience and Nintendo audience has crossover. I'm feeling in my gut. I'm feeling strongly by the time this next chapter comes out, by the time 1131 comes out, I feel very strongly we are going to get the reveal of Switch 2. I feel very, 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 very strongly about it. I don't know why. I don't know anything. This isn't me saying like I know anything. I don't know anything. I'm just saying like with the way certain things are lining up, where like Super Mario Party just came out, so they had a big release. Zelda's already obviously out. We've got the big play test for whatever that Nintendo Switch Online thing is going to be, which we're going to find out probably tonight because we know the preload is happening for that on the 20th. I feel like we're closing in on a Switch 2 reveal sooner rather than later. And so I feel like, again, this 2-week break is going to allow me to make a bunch of content, to do a bunch of other streams, to catch up, to just enjoy myself, to speculate. And then we're going to come back fresh with this hype new beginning to Elbaf now that we're officially in Elbaf, that he confirmed it. Great chapter this week, man. Really, really, really good chapter. Also, I saw people asking, are you going to do Boruto today? No, I'm not going to be doing Boruto today. One, because this stream ended up going on longer than I thought it was going to, and I want to get some breakfast, and we've got other stuff that we got to do tonight. But I will be doing Boruto when I get back to Los Angeles. So I fly back tomorrow, and I'm not going to do it first thing because I have 2 other videos that I got to do, but I will be doing it at some point within the week. Whenever I get like a little like 1 hour bit of downtime, I'm going to do Boruto, and I'm also going to read the 2 Hunter x Hunter chapters that came out, because I haven't read last week's. I haven't also seen anything about last week's, and I also want to read the one that dropped today. So I will be doing both of those when I get back too. So yeah, in terms of upcoming manga content, man, I do have a lot of stuff. Even just in terms of things that I already know I'm going to do, I have a lot of stuff. Hunter x Hunter. We got Hunter x Hunter. We still got my Emio video coming. We still got, and that's done. I'm waiting on an approval to post that video. That video is done. I'm waiting to post that Emio video, but as soon as I get the approval, that's going up. We got my big Halloween stream that I do every year. We got a Halloween stream that I'm doing. We got Hunter x Hunter. We got Boruto. We got my Egghead review. I potentially am also going to do a live reaction when I get back to the One Piece special that dropped last night, because I haven't had the chance to watch it, and everyone's been saying it's really good. Plus, they got the new updates for Genshin and for Star Rail, potential Switch 2 announcement, talking about whatever this thing is going to be from the Nintendo playtest. There's a lot of good stuff coming. So yeah, good time to be a One Piece fan, man. I'll tell you. And again, this break is happening at just like the perfect time, the absolute perfect time. So thank you once again, everybody, for tuning into the stream today. Greatly appreciate it. Yes, One Piece fan letters is what I'm talking about, Api. I definitely want to watch that when I get back. Okay, I'm gonna go get some breakfast. I'm not going to hold you guys up any longer. Man, a lot of you guys were in here today. This was a really, really great morning stream. The fact that there's still 800 of you at the very end of this, after we've gone another 30 minutes after during the theories, just goes to show what a great chapter this is. Literally, the VOD on the background already says we're at 15K views just from the live stream alone. So clearly, people were hyped for this chapter. And I had a great time reading this chapter too. And I'm excited to see what Elbaf is going to bring. I love Loki's design. I'm excited for the return of Vivi. We got some good stuff coming. You know, wish me safe travels on my way back to Los Angeles. And I will be seeing you guys very, very soon. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, I was trying to be smooth with it, but I'm on my new phone, so I wasn't able to stop it. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye everybody. Take care and have a lovely day today. Nakama!